want to shoot you a quick message today. I want to talk to you really quickly about a patient that I had today that I had to tell to stop going to McDonald's. So this is probably my highest maintenance patient. So she comes in sporadically over the last 3 or 4 years, get her put back together. She's got hip pain, back pain, pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. Get her put back together, feels fantastic, leaves. Then she decides to go dancing and she wants to dance, fantastic. Comes back in, she's a total disaster. And I said, well, have you been doing exercises? Well, no, because I'm dancing instead. And I said, well, the dancing isn't serving the same purpose as the exercises that I gave you. You should be using those exercises as your warm-up and cool down for dancing and then using it on your days off. So put her back together and then she disappears for a while. Then she came back and she was a disaster again. I said, what happened? She said, well, I just didn't think I was getting any better doing working with you, so I went to a chiropractor. And I said, well, I thought the last time that I saw you, you were doing fine. She goes, well, yeah, come to think of it, I was doing really well. And I said, okay, so then how long after you stopped seeing me did you have problems come back? And she said, well, I don't know, maybe like 6 to 9 months. And then I started seeing the chiropractor. And I said, okay. And I said, why the chiropractor? Well, I went to see him once and he made me feel really good. And, I felt really good when I left. And I said, okay, so how do you feel now? Oh, I feel terrible. I can't do any kind of exercise. I can't go for a walk. I wake up in the morning, I'm sore. But when I leave the chiropractor, I feel really good. And I said, okay, so how often are you seeing the chiropractor now? And she said, it was originally like 3 times a week and then we're down to 2 times a week and now we're once every week. And I said, okay, and how are you feeling? And she said, well, I feel terrible, but I feel good when I leave him. And I said, well, how'd you feel when you got done seeing me last time? Oh, I felt great. And I said, so you felt great when you left or you felt great for the long run? She goes, well, I guess I felt great for the long run. I did feel really good for a couple months. And I said, okay, so you ready to stop going to the chiropractor? Well, no, I'm not ready. No, I feel great when I leave there. So we went through what he did and why it was garbage and got her to figure that out. But she kept coming back saying, well, I felt better when I left. Okay, whatever. So put her back together. She disappears for a while. Now she's back. And she's doing an exercise app. So her employer gave her, all the employees, a free exercise app that not only does it give them exercises, but it's different exercises every day, multiple times a day. And they also have free access to a physician and a physical therapist, not AI, live physician and physical therapist returning their texts. Sure. So, so I said, well, how's that going? She goes, well, it was doing really well for the first 2 weeks that I used it, but now I feel I'm having a lot more pain a lot more frequently. And I said, okay, are you using the exercises that I gave you in conjunction with the exercise app? Well, no, because your exercises were really hard to do and they took a long time. And the exercise app only takes like 3 or 4 minutes. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure the exercises that I gave you max took 5 minutes and you were doing really well. Now you're doing these exercises and it sounds like you're not doing so well. Well, I want to do it because I can track my progress. And I said, what do you mean track your progress? And she said, well, you can go up and do harder exercises. And I said, so as you're going up and doing harder exercises, are you having more problems? And she said, oh yeah. I guess I'm having more problems. Don't worry, I'm going to get back to McDonald's. Yeah, I guess I am having more problems. And I said, So it sounds like if you did the exercises that I gave you instead of these exercises, or do mine as a warm-up and then these other exercises, things might go better. She's like, well, I just don't have time. I'm so busy, I don't have time. And I said, okay, so do you have time to be in pain and not do what you want to do? And she said, well, but that doesn't take any time. And I said, yeah, but your discomfort, isn't that worth time? Like, how much discomfort are you willing to put up with? And how many things that you want to do are you willing not to do because now you have pain because you wanted to save time and do exercises on an app because it's cool and funky instead of do what's tried and true every time I give you, they fix your problem for months on end. She said, well, I just don't want to give up those exercises. They're really good. And she said, and they do the same thing your exercises do. And I said, oh, okay. So they take you through a full range of motion on all those exercises that you do on the app? And she said, yeah. I said, oh, really? So when you do squats on the exercises of the app, you do squats ass to the grass. And she said, well, no, it's like short squats. I said, that's not full range of motion. And she's like, oh. So I said, remember, the reason why you do full range of motion is because the motion you train is the motion you gain or the motion you maintain. You're really tight because you're doing partial range of motion. And she said, oh. And I said, so do they have a warm up for the exercises on the app? And she said, no, I just get up and I do it. I said, so you're sitting down all day. You jump up and the app says, do these exercises. You crank out these exercises after being sedentary for several hours. And now you're wondering why you feel sore and why the exercises feel like they're making you worse. She says, well, they're exercises. You gave me exercises. And I said, remember the purpose of the exercises that I gave you. Did I give you exercises where you're squeezing and holding only one muscle at a time before you did anything else? And she said, yeah. And I said, what's the purpose of those? She said, well, to kind of like turn on the muscle. And I said, right. What are you doing to turn on the muscle after you sit for 3 or 4 hours and then jump up and do exercises? And she said, oh, I guess I'm not doing any warm up. Okay. So you're not doing any warm up. You're not doing anything that's muscle specific to get the muscles that you have problems on. So it's targeted directly for you. I built an exercise program directly for you. And you're not going through full range of motion. You're not going through transverse plane range of motion. You're not going through aplanar range of motion. So you've got a fancy app that is basically McDonald's. I said, you've been eating McDonald's for the last 3 weeks, and now you wonder why you feel like crap. And she said, well, what do you mean McDonald's? And I said, you're using an app that's made for everybody. It's not specific to you. It's made for everybody. And it makes you chase things, so it makes you think that the more I do and the more I move up a level, the better it is. The more I shop and the more I go to McDonald's and I get punches on my punch pass and I get a free coffee next time or I get a free donut or whatever it is, that's what's driving you while you're falling apart and making yourself worse because you continue to eat at McDonald's. And really, I said, really, what you're telling me is you want to feel full. So you want to feel good, which McDonald's, you want to feel full. So you eat garbage that is really quick, really easy, and really cheap. What I'm giving you is really custom made, very specific, costs a little bit more because you have to come in here and see me to get checkups and get things updated. It's not free, and it's not on an app that's cool. It's on I write it down on a piece of paper for you, so not technologically really cool and hip, but it's actually effective and it keeps you away from pain and keeps you doing what you want to do. So you can keep chasing McDonald's, feel good, immediate gratification, you think you're full and that's good for you, but then 3 weeks later when you're fat, out of shape, feel like crap, you're wondering why? Well, it's because you went back to McDonald's over and over and over again and chased what they want you to chase to feel like you're moving up the ladder when actually you're just running yourself in the ground. Okay? So what does this have to do with you? So physical therapy is the exact same thing. So you go to a mill and you get a handout that's the same handout they give to everybody that has that condition. Oh, you have plantar fasciitis? Here's your 5 exercises and your 5 stretches. Oh, you have subacromial impingement? Here's your 4 exercises and your 5 stretches. And then do ice and do tape and do rest and then come back in here and we'll give you a massage and give you a rub down, stick needles in you. You feel good for a while. And even though you feel like crap later, don't worry about it. Just keep on coming in 2 to 3 times a week for 6 to 8 weeks. That's physical therapy. Physical therapy, conventional physical therapy, the broken medical model is McDonald's. Make them feel full. Make them feel like they're getting something of quality, which they're not. Make them feel like they're getting better, which they're not. Make them chase something that gives them instant gratification, even though it makes them worse. Or you can do the hard work. You can apply science. You can use science to their advantage and give them specific things that have specific reasons why they do that. Now, this patient, as I said in the beginning, is my biggest headache, my most time-needy attention patient. So most patients, when you give them that information and they say, yeah, I feel a lot better when I walk out of here, but even better than that, I feel better than that the next day and the next day and the next day. And every time I feel like I'm sliding backwards, I do the exercises that you gave me and I feel like I'm reset and I'm ready to go. That's what 99% of the patients do. So they've figured out McDonald's, bad news, stay away from it. Conventional PT, chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, stay away from it, bad news. Instant gratification, feel better now, but get worse long term. So my inference is the reason why you're watching this, the reason why you're in this group is because you already know the system is broken. You already know McDonald's sucks, and you're tired of serving McDonald's to your patients, and you're looking for a better way to sell them something that actually works long term with short amount of visits from you. That's what the shift is. So right now, Red Sunday sale is on. If you want to stop serving your patients McDonald's, get in the link below. I'll post it below. Get there. Start using science to your advantage. Start moving away from the crap that you know that's not working. Give your patients real results, and 99% of your patients will be like 99% of my patients. You'll have this 1%. They're going to have to hold their hand. You're going to have to keep on reminding them because they just want to feel full. They just want to feel no pain. They want to go see McDonald's until they figure it out. This sucks. This doesn't work. And then they come back. So help me help you by breaking the conventional medical model. Get on the shift, get with our community, be on our Zoom calls, show up for lab weekend, learn everything that's in the patented 180 system in less than 4 months, and you can stop feeding the broken medical model and feeding your patients McDonald's.